You're not behind. You did not miss your window. But that voice that's telling you that it's too late to try something new, that is lying. And at 40, you think you're running out of time. At 50, you think that the ship has sailed. And at 60, you think it's over. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. Some of the best reinventions out there, they started after 55. And here's how to start yours. Here's a question I got recently. I'm going to let you read it on the screen, but I'm going to give you the short version. So Diane here, she's 52. She spent almost 30 years in a career that she was good at. She was incredible at. And somewhere along the way, it just stopped fitting her. So her kids, they were mostly grown. Her husband, he was supportive, but he says that he doesn't really get it. So part of her wants to walk away and try something completely new, completely different. The other part, though, she's terrified. And she waited too long. At least this is the way she feels. And there's nothing left to walk towards. So her question is simple. How do I actually start over? How do I start over at my age? And it's a fair question. And if you're somewhere in your 40s, 50s, 60s, feeling that same itch, you're in good company. You are not alone. Now, I sat exactly where Diane is sitting. And my first career was the military. And the thing about the military is that there is a final date. Everybody's got one. So you get to a point where you're done whether you're ready or not. And we'd done 3 2-year moves in a row, and it was taxing on our family and our daughter in particular, right? And so for her sake and for us, this was something we wanted. We wanted stability. So we made a family decision. And just like that, I went from a career that I'd done well, a career that I was confident in, into this whole world that was opening up to me. And I had no idea where I wanted to go. And I'll be honest, the 2 a.m. wake up there, that version that's going through your head of what am I going to do? How am I going to put food on the table for my family? My fear wasn't about a job title. It was about providing, fulfilling that role and being fulfilled at the same time. And leaving this one chapter and trusting that I was moving towards where I actually was meant to be. And just taking one step at a time without the next one guaranteed. It's just a very different feeling. So knowing that context and what Diane told me here, she told me her age. She told me her timeline. She told me 30 years of history there. She even told me that she's scared. And all of that is real. But here's what Diane did not tell me. She never told me what starting over is actually for. She told me everything that she wants to walk away from. She told me nothing about what she's walking towards. What is that vision? And that's not a small gap. That's the whole thing. Because start over, that can mean 5 completely different things. And I mean, income. I need this to pay the bills. It can mean identity. I need to feel like myself again. It can mean freedom. I want my time back. It can mean purpose. I want to matter to somebody. Or it could be proximity. I want to be closer to the people that I love. And those are 5 different finish lines. And every single one of them, it points to a different first move. And here's how I found mine. So the more that I worked backwards from the parts of the military that I loved the most, connecting with people, creating clarity for them, leading well, adding real value to their lives. Now, that's what I loved. And so I started taking personality tests, job assessments, the whole thing. And the word that kept surfacing for me was autonomy. I valued autonomy. So I put it together. I wanted to walk alongside other people, add value. I wanted to get paid for what I know because I knew there'd be a direct line between the two of those things. And then once I could figure that out, and once I could say that out loud, then it became obvious of the different professions that I might be a good fit for. But until I could say it, I was just anxious, wondering what was going to be next. So the question Diane asked here, it's not really the question. She asked, how do I start over? The real question to me is, what am I building towards in this next season? And when you answer that, and the how and the what you're going to do starts to take care of itself. It starts to take shape. So here's what we're going to walk through today. 10 things that you need to know about starting over at whether you're 40, 50, or 60. And every one of them bends back to the same question. What are you building towards? And by the time we're done, you're going to see the whole thing differently. And if you're sitting there like Diane is right now, you're going to know exactly what to do next. So let's start with point number one. Name what you are building towards. Now, I said this already, but this is a huge one. And put a number on it. So this is the one everything else hangs on. Whether you're starting over, no matter whatever your age is, before you quit, before you enroll, before you spend $1 on anything, you name the finish line, not the thing that you're escaping, the thing that you're building towards. Remember those 5: income, identity, freedom, purpose, proximity. Look, what is actually driving you towards a change? Most people can't name it at first. They know what they really dislike. They don't know what they want. And you can't navigate toward not this. But naming it, that is only half the job. Once you've got that, make it measurable. Because if you never define what winning looks like, you never feel like you're winning. You just feel behind forever. Now, if your finish line is income, what's the actual monthly number? If it's freedom, how many hours do you want back? If it's purpose, what does a good day look like? Mine fell more in the purpose category. Enough is a number and a picture, not a vibe, as the kids say these days. So now when you can finish this sentence, I'm starting over because I want to build X. And then you can describe what enough looks like. You've done the single hardest part. Everything else in this video is just how to get there. Friends, life transitions, they get complicated fast. And sometimes you just need the right professional, the right coach in your corner to help navigate it. And if that sounds like where you are, check out the caption below. You're going to see a link there, and it has a link to all of our resources that we have out there for life's most difficult transitions. That could be estate planning. That could be how to downsize well, how to navigate a career change. Look, we put resources out every single week to help you. And then if you need actual one-on-one coaching, that option is there as well. Now, if you haven't already, subscribe. More life, wealth, and real estate content for your life transitions comes out every single week. I look forward to connecting with you when the time is right. All right, point 2. There is a difference between I want to do this and I have to do this by Friday. Now, when you blur them, you make panicked decisions. So Diane feels like the clock is running out, and I'm here to tell you it's not. The reinvention itself has no deadline, but the financial runway underneath it, that does. So get honest with yourself. How many months can you fund this restart before it has to start funding itself? That number isn't a limit on your dream. It's the lane that you get to drive in. So think about it, know it, so that way you know what your timeline truly is. All right, point number 3. You are not starting from zero. So nobody at 50, 40, 60, whatever your age is, no one starts from zero. You're starting from years, decades of skills, relationships, and judgment that a 25-year-old, think of your 25-year-old self, how much would you kill to go back in time and know what you know now and apply it then? And here's mine. So my wife and I, we bought and sold real estate throughout our entire military career. And every one of those moves at the time, it was just life. But when I was figuring out my next chapter, that wasn't nothing. It was raw material. I already had in my hands experience. Diane here, she thinks her design career is over. It's not gone. It's raw material as well, because not only was she designing, not only was I buying and selling houses, but I was leading people. Those relationship skills, working with other people, those are all transferable. Reinvention is rarely about learning everything new. It's about pointing what you already have at something new. It's reapplying or applying the skills that you have in a different way. The foundation is set. And so that gave me confidence. And I hope it gives you confidence as you hear this, because you are not starting from ground zero. You have a solid foundation. In life is an active sport. You hear me say this often. And We all have to adapt. So if you chose like these are my skills, I'm going to say static forever. Well, that's not a recipe for success either. We all have to adapt even in the jobs that we knew. So applying it to something new, just another way to look at it. Okay, point 4. Expect your finish line to evolve. Now, this one it takes the pressure off. You do not have to get it perfect on day 1. Your finish line is allowed to move. And here's how that played out for me. So I went into real estate thinking that that was the destination. And I love real estate. But the longer I did it, the more I realized the thing I actually love most isn't the real estate. I love it and I still love doing it today, but it's helping people solve problems before we ever get there. The real estate turns out to be the output of a larger life goal, which is why I talk about my 12 Ds all the time. Remember why people move? Diplomas, diamonds, death, divorce, downsizing, deployments, dislocation. That's 7 of 12. I'll have to think about the other 5. But you get it, right? So solving those problems, this one here, talking about direction in life, a career direction. How do we solve this? And then maybe it ends in a move, maybe it doesn't. But the whole process is, what is that life goal? What is that transition? How do we set that up for success? And then 2, we optimize it for wealth. And then 3, we work on the real estate if that even makes sense. But I did not know that on day 1. I only found it out by starting. So if you're terrified of choosing wrong, hear me out. You're not carving this in stone. You're pointing yourself in a direction and staying honest as it sharpens. The people who never start because they can't see the whole staircase, they're the ones who get stuck. Name your best guess at what you're building towards and let it get clearer as you move forward. You're taking purposeful action, and then we all have to adjust over time. Now, here's point number 5. You do not have to blow up your life to try a new one. So reinvention does not require just a drop off, a cliff. So before I went all in, I did the new thing on the side first. So Diane, she can sell a few pieces, take one class, shadow one person, and that's without quitting anything. A small, cheap test like that, that's going to tell you more than a year of overthinking. And it lets you fail small instead of betting on the house. So this is what we did. While I was finishing up my time in the military, right alongside that, I started doing real estate and we were very successful. We're still very successful today, but I didn't know that until I actually tried. And then as I got into it, that's where things started to evolve, where I coach people through life transitions, provide resources for people's life transitions. Again, going back to the 12 Ds. And as I started thinking about it, it's what I did throughout the entire military. We made decisions in ambiguous situations. We helped people get to a state where they could contribute fully to the mission. And this is while I was a commander, right? So we were trying to set them up for success because I needed them fully engaged in the mission and what we were trying to do. So going back to those skills that I had learned over decades and applying them in a different way, and then starting small, it worked. Okay. Point number 6, build the money map second, not last. So people in transition, they love to avoid the money conversation until it's an emergency. Don't. Once you know what you're building towards, run the numbers early. What's coming in? What's going out? That gap, that is real, and it can be a trap, right? That could sever and stop your desires or your dreams. And how long your savings that can cover that gap, right? That money clarity, that's what turns a scary leap into one that is a calculated one. Know your numbers, and that gives you the confidence to move forward. Okay, point number 7, find the one person who has done it, somebody that you can actually talk to. So the fastest way to start over is actually to borrow someone else's idea, somebody else's map. Diane said her husband doesn't get it. Maybe not, but somebody out there, they've already done exactly the reinvention that she's afraid of. And they remember what it felt like those first 6 months to get through it. I'm in my mid 40s right now. I'm figuring out my own next chapter. And I'm evolving every single day in how to make this better. And the people I lean on the hardest, they're the ones who did it in their 50s and 60s and came out on the other side. Those are my mentors. This is the part that most people skip. And it's the part that closes the gap between feeling alone and feeling found. You need the right person who's been there, where you're headed, and the right questions to ask them. That's what's going to help us as human beings feel confident. Now, quick gut check before we keep going. Remember, the question was, how do I start over? The question is, what are you building towards? So hold on to that, because the next 3 points, this is where it gets real. So point number 8, this is expect the grief, then keep moving. So this one's tender, okay? Starting over means ending something. And endings, they can come with grief, even the good ones. So Diane isn't just changing jobs. She's grieving the version of herself that the career made her. The experiences that shaped who she is as a person. It's not her full identity, but there are attributes and experiences that shape who we are as people. And that's all normal. So let yourself feel it, but don't let the grief vote on your future. You can miss who you were and still build who you're becoming. Both are true at the same time. Point number 9, protect your health like it's part of the plan, because it is. You can build the perfect new chapter and have no energy left to live it. When everything's in upheaval, sleep, movement, your body, those are the first things to go. Don't let them. Your reinvention runs on your health. Treat your sleep, your strength, your stress like load-bearing walls of a house in this whole thing, because that's what gets us through these difficult times, these challenging times. At least it's part of what gets us through. Point number 10, use purpose as your anti-aging plan. So remember what I said about real estate in my personal journey turning out to be the output of people's life goals, or coming to that conclusion. That discovery, that became the whole way that I work now. Life first, then wealth, then real estate. Because real estate, it's not always the answer. These days, whenever I'm having these Zoom calls, when we're setting the life goal up for success, we're setting up the wealth optimization plan for the transition that's happening, walking people through these reasons, then that is where I find the value, because we're solving so many problems upstream. And the purpose is the part that nobody warned you about when you're making these career transitions. And here's my warning to you. My mom, she was a former police officer. She loved it. She ran and did that profession for decades, and she figured she'd do it well, late into her life. But eventually a time came where she did not want to do it anymore. So she had to find purpose in something else. I had to find some purpose in something else. And I believe when we stop having something to build towards, that's when we start to die on the inside. And that has so much effect on us mentally and physically. That's the whole point of getting your finish line right. You're not just choosing a job. You're choosing what gets you out of bed in the morning, whether you're 20, 30, 40, however old you are. That's why what are you building towards isn't a soft question. It's the most practical question that you're ever going to answer for yourself. So here's your one next step. Don't quit anything today. Don't enroll in anything today. Just finish the sentence on paper. I'm starting over because I want to build X. And that could be income, identity, freedom, purpose, proximity. Pick the real one that applies for you. And when I finally wrote mine down, walking alongside other people, adding value to their lives, getting paid for what I know, and with having the autonomy to do that on my own terms, everything else got clear, and yours will too. Define what you're building towards first. Then the how, that's going to come afterwards. Friends, if you've got a big transition coming up and you think that you might need some help, let's talk. Look in the caption below for free resources there. You might even find my calendar and we can talk one-on-one. We'll send you a simple exercise as well if you want. That way it can help you figure out your next steps. And look, In the world that we're living in, we'd count on other people to iron sharpens iron to talk through ideas and what makes sense. And that's exactly what I do. I'm Weldon Hobbs. When we're making big decisions, we start with your life goal, we optimize it for wealth, and then we focus on the real estate if it even applies. Remember, good decisions, they start with good information, and I'll see you in the next one.